Our idea was to have a building that you really knew that you were in a special place. We wanted something that would accommodate lots of visitors, that would be a gathering place, a meeting point for our whole community. The museum's trustees decided that they wanted to establish their own identity, create a building that first and foremost would clearly mark where the Milwaukee Art Museum was, and then create a building that itself was a sculpture, a piece of art that made a statement.
We were looking for somebody who built in concrete, steel, and glass. We were looking for someone who would be very respectful of the two earlier buildings, and we were particularly looking for someone who would be very sensitive to our site on the lakefront, because we felt that that was a kind of treasured site in Milwaukee. And finally, I think we were looking for a dramatic architect. We were looking for an architect who could build a building that said art or art museum. We were looking for a signature building.
I think that once this project was on the radar screen and it caught the imagination of the community, I was really excited about it, because it did get people to start thinking, well, we can do it here in Milwaukee. I knew that Calatrava felt that we could do it here in Milwaukee. He had a great vision.
I am sure that there is not a good project, built project, without a good client behind it. Because the first vision, the decision, I want to do a special building, I want to do a beautiful building, I want to do a building with this belongs much more to the client than to the architect.
Not only is he a brilliant architect and engineer, he's also a great builder. He really knows how things go together and has the willingness to really spend time with the craftsmen and really work with them on constructability issues, which is not so typical, or is untypical of what you would expect with someone that's a world-renowned architect.
I think the marching orders were clear and established from the moment Calatrava was selected to be the designer and David Kaler's firm was selected to be the architect of record. The museum went out to find the best it could to fill its roles. Whenever a need was defined, go and find the best there is to fill that need. It's a challenge every day, not only to figure out how to do it, but to work with the architect, work with the engineers, and work with the city, work with the county. C.G. Schmidt is the construction manager for the project. We worked with the museum in trying to find the right contractors, and we needed the best. In many cases, not only the best company, we want their best foreman and their best project manager. Go out on that job, start thinking about how to do it better. In some cases, the tradesmen actually were pushing us. I mean, we would have said, okay, that's good enough, and they wanted to do it better. Santiago does things that most architects wish they could do. He has such an understanding of engineering and sculpture that he puts things together and just seems to know that they will work. The biggest pieces of glass, the longest spans of concrete, steel that twists in every direction, things that are suspended, everything is different.
It's a very organic kind of facility. It isn't a rectangular box. It's a different kind of a monument from what Saarinen did for the War Memorial adjacent to this site. It really stretches abilities of both the design people and the construction people to create something that's never been done before. People spent probably 10 times as much time working out the geometry of this facility as any other that I've ever worked on in my career. There are very few straight lines. Even the curved lines are multiple curves that have to be calculated. You have to get the tangent points to meet properly. Another way to describe it is a transparency You can see the inside and the outside at the same time. We had to actually build a clay model of a particular portion of the building, and the contractors put that in their trailer, and they would work on the form work until they got stumped, and they go into the trailer, look at the clay model, and go back and continue working. So there were a lot of things that we had to do differently that were real challenges.
It was actually David Kaler who suggested Dan Kiley as the sort of dean of American landscape architecture, and someone whose kind of geometric forms might work well with Calatrava's overall plan as the potential designer of this landscape.
Dan Kiley and Santiago Calatrava are two unique individuals, two people with a very strong opinion of design and how they like to see things. What works great with the two of them, the biggest similarity is their use of space, their use of geometric patterns, but at the same token, they are very organic in their designs. The central garden is in essence an 800-foot long fountain. At each end of this fountain is anchored by two monumental 50-foot high water jets. These pools of water are centered in large granite plazas. In between these two large pools are what we've termed the water canal. That creates a water wall that is somewhere in a length of 600 feet. The design idea behind this water wall is that it's transparent, that you're able to see through it.
Lastly, and probably most importantly, Calatrava is known for having movable components to his building, and certainly our Brise-Soleil not only fits that description, but is without question the most ambitious thing that Calatrava has ever done.
There is a sense of movement who comes through the cosmic relation, through the sun, the hours of the day, the shadows, also the seasons. When someone has put a lot of feeling in something, even in the ruins, you can discover it. It is a sentence of a French architect who says, "L'architecture, c'est ce qui fait les belles ruines." Architecture is this who makes the beautiful ruin.
There's three elements, I think, on the project that, if they had just been on any project, would have made it a spectacular, landmark, unique building. Those being probably in order of complication, the bridge, the pavilion, and the Brise-Soleil.
The Brise-Soleil is a machine that sits on top of a building. And like anything that has never been done before, a fair amount of research and development was required. First to understand exactly what we were trying to do, and then to figure out the best way to do it. The manufacturing industry is entirely different than the construction industry. And I think it took a while for us to realize that we had to deal with both in order to make the Brise-Soleil happen.
If we had put this Brise-Soleil on top of a bridge pier or something substantial, it would have been tough enough, but putting it on top of this freeform pavilion and analyzing that and designing that for a number of different load cases for the Brise-Soleil, open, closed, partially open, things of that nature, was extremely challenging.
It has a wingspan of 3/4 of a football field, bigger than a 747 from wingtip to wingtip. It will open and close gracefully in 3 to 4 minutes. It will truly be an engineering marvel.
We are not the same people after this particular project. We have all become better in so many different ways, in terms of stretching our imaginations, stretching our professional abilities to make sure this thing is done properly, and at the end being able to deliver a work of art.
I think I'd like to thank the building committee for just making the whole project possible. If they hadn't done that, then none of us would be standing here.
The art of the architecture elevates the art within, and you sense it, you feel it. And that's the greatest thing that we could have possibly hoped to achieve.
Looking around, one wonders, whose building is this? And I hope everyone thinks it's theirs. That this is a building that belongs to our community, that belongs to the people who walk through it, that every visitor has a little piece and a part of it, that it's not the property of the Milwaukee Art Museum, but it really rests in the heart and the soul of all of us.
You see, it's a very strange sensation. On the one side, I'm very excited. I'm a little bit sad, you know, because it is also the end of this wonderful experience.